What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 30 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I'd like to give a big shout out to our new listeners from Estonia and the Philippines. That brings our total listeners to 32 countries. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you would like to support taking this podcast to even more people in more countries, please click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into our interview with Vanessa Goosen from South Africa. Today I'm talking to Vanessa Goosen from South Africa, and she has an amazing testimony of going from being a model and a beauty pageant contestant to being drug muled, as the title of her book is. So, Vanessa, welcome. And why don't we start right there? Could you explain why your book is entitled Drug Muled as a verb rather than drug mule as a noun?
Hi, David, and to all the listeners. Yes, no, I was muled. I only found out more when I was arrested, like about the drug trade and how they use people as decoys. And I believe I was one of the decoys so that a bigger shipment can pass me. I was just a distraction.
Okay. So you find yourself arrested in Bangkok, Thailand. And what were those first few days in a strange country, probably not speaking the language, and still wondering how all this happened?
It was very frustrating because I did not understand them, and they kept on speaking Thai to you. And, there's nothing worse than not understanding what people are saying. And, their tone of voice and body language is letting you know they are mad, they're upset, they are angry with you. And expect you to understand what they're saying to you, because we're not used to the culture of you need to sit on the floor, you don't stand in front of an officer, you bend, you don't use your hands when you speak. We're not used to that. So it was not an easy time for me when we are faced with any situation. I was scared, I was afraid, I was confused, I was angry, I was mad, I suffered from anxiety. And I really just did not know what to do.
And on top of that, you were pregnant. And how did that go? You ended up having your baby while still incarcerated. And what was
they did
that
some
like?
blood tests just to make sure that I am pregnant. And when the results came back that I was pregnant, I was moved to the mother's room. That was a tiny room, a plus minus 40 square meter room with 40 other mothers and children. So we actually slept like body to body. And it was very humid, very frustrating, and just getting used to the culture. It was not easy being pregnant in a situation like that, or having a baby in a situation like that, because you had to watch your baby all the time. You had to make sure she's never leave your sight, because you never know what can happen. And also to take care of your baby, as the prison did not supply things for the baby. The milk that was given was donated by missionaries, which I knew. That we were able to get like 8 spoons of milk, but you had to purchase your own milk, own a Cerelac for the baby, and baby clothing, because they did not provide that for you. So it was very difficult if the child would get sick or anything would happen to the baby. You must have finances if the child needs any medical care. I remember my daughter was just screaming and like crazy, and I didn't know what was wrong with her. She was itching and scratching her eyes, but I couldn't see anything. And they were trying to take her to the outside hospital, and she was going crazy, screaming because I can't go with her. So they actually could not take her out because she was completely losing it. And so, that was quite difficult. So I had to deal with that.
Wow. And all of these children under the age of 3, how long Were they allowed to stay
It was
in
like up
the
to the age of
prison?
3 until the policy has changed from 3 years to 1 year. So when my daughter was 2.5 years old, they called me in to tell me that the policy has changed. She needs to leave. And I told them that she can't just leave because I had to contact home. They need to book a plane ticket. Somebody need to come and fetch her. So it will take some time. So they told me, okay, they give me up to the time of when she turned exactly 3. So they gave me 6 months to arrange that. And on the day when she turned 6, they called me and she said she have to go. And if she doesn't go, we're going to put her in an orphanage. So that's when my best friend and her husband came because they had
Wow.
a daughter the same age as my daughter. And they asked my mom that wasn't doing well, not coping with my situation as she tried to commit suicide. So my friend came and fetched my daughter.
Mm, wow. Yeah, that really points out the importance of friends who you could still stay in contact with, and also the importance of the pain of a mother as your mother tried to commit suicide with just her pain of the loss of you, and now here you were facing the loss of your daughter, going back from Asia to Africa and not knowing if
Yeah,
you would
that
ever
was
see
very
her again.
difficult. And I was just like, I want to go home with my daughter. I don't want to leave her. She kept me strong, and I really put all my love into her. So her leaving me, I didn't know how I was able to cope with the situation. But when I took it to God, and then God revealed to me that this is not a place for a child. This is not a normal environment. She needs to grow up in a normal environment. And that's when I realized I was actually selfish for keeping her inside the prison, that I just needed to trust God that, she needed to be raised in a healthy, normal environment.
Right. And how many years was it then before you were released from prison and were able
That
to
was after
hug your
13 and a
daughter
half
again?
years.
Wow. And how was that to work at restoring a relationship? Because I'm sure after 13 years,
Oh
you
no, we
guys were
were complete
strangers.
strangers, and it was very, very hard because my best friend who raised my daughter for the 13 and a half years passed on before my release. So it was difficult for me. To connect with my daughter because she was a teenager and had her own idea how I was supposed to be. She saw me as this quiet person, and she just had a crazy picture about me in her mind. So when I returned back and I was speaking a little bit loud, and just because of that's something I had to unlearn of being in the prison. So it was difficult because she told me one day that, why are you dealing with me like a psychologist and not like a mother? And I said to her, I don't know how to be a mother,
Mhm.
but I can tell you one thing: I love you. This is something that I'm still learning how to do because 13 and a half years was a long time. And I realized when I took her to the doctor and they asked me things of her past, I could not respond. I just broke out and cried because I couldn't call my friend and
Yeah.
ask her because um, she passed on, and I was stuck. So then I realized that I don't know much. I just broke
Wow.
down and cried in front of the doctor, and he didn't realize what was happening. He said, "No, I'm just answer the questions," and I said, "I can't," and he didn't understand.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that I never looked at that pain from a mother's standpoint. We often talk about the importance of those formative years in our children, but you also lost those formative years from growing to be a parent and learning how to parent and learning to show love through the various stages of your own
Yeah,
daughter's development.
it was not easy, and also she had a lot of anger towards me that made it very, very difficult. For her to really open her heart towards me. It really took some time. It took some prayers to really stay on my knees to pray for her. And as she also was raised, out of an old apostolic church, and also she was in the world, and it was quite difficult for me to deal with that, and just trying to be a mom and building a relationship with. She made it very hard for me. But the only way that yoke was broken was through the anointing of Jesus Christ that broke that yoke, and staying in prayer.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow, that's powerful to hear the pain that you experienced of being physically incarcerated in a strange country, but then also the emotional pain of a mother giving birth and watching her daughter leave and not knowing if you would ever see her again. But now you've found that women inside the prison related to your pain, and you find that people all around the world can relate to that emotional or spiritual prison that they battle.
So seeing people relating to me, crying with me, was very weird for me, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And then when God showed me that I carry the key to unlock prisons, spiritual prisons where people are locked up in, and then I realized people are being set free through me sharing my experience. People are being healed from hurt, from unforgiveness, from bitterness, from anger, from just and turning their back on God or giving up on God, and it's giving hope in the most darkest situation. And when I realized that my situation wasn't easy, but I can say today it was worth it, because whatever we go through, it's never for us. It's always for the benefit of others. That is how God works. That is how God show his love.
Wow.
Through your hurt, through your pain, through your sacrifices. That he says, when you are strengthened, strengthen others. We can't be selfish with the gift God has given unto us. Yes, it wasn't easy if you've gone through a divorce. It wasn't easy if you've been abused. It wasn't easy if you've been cheated on, or you've been raped, or all these different things that has been happening to you. Nobody can understand exactly what you have gone through. But when God has brought you through it, and you look back and you can thank him, then we can use that experience to be able to help others. And that is how I started doing motivational speaking at different companies. I realized that without speaking about God, God always opened the door when I opened the floor for questions. And I end up sitting counseling people in HR, counseling people in the office. God just opened the. I had people coming up to me and say, "You are a child of God," and I didn't mention God. They say, "No, we could pick it up the way you speak." And it was the Holy Spirit that is speaking. So God opened doors for me through my gift in the corporate field, and then also ministering in different churches, women's event, at youth, doing outreaches. God is just, and doing counseling. All this was birthed due to my situation. We have a choice. You can allow your situation to build you or break you.
Yes. Yeah. In closing, I really hear your strength through your faith. And I also hear the struggle that you went through, not only with your faith, but also with your emotions and how that messes with our mental health. And underneath all this, I hear the heart of a strong woman and the heart of your love as a mother. So I'd like you to just have a closing comment for the women out there who are listening, who may have been in prison, who may have lost a child to drugs, who may have lost a child because the mother got caught up in drugs and the system took them away. What would you say to just speak hope
Being a
into a
mother is
mother's
not
heart?
easy. It's very difficult, because a mother will even give her last food to her children and she will go hungry. A mother's love is really undescribable, because she will go to the extent to really protect and see to her children. I want to speak to children out there that, yes, I know there's mothers that maybe has hurt you, harmed you, upset you. I want to tell you that love them despite of, because you never know what they go through. I'll just give you a quick story why I say that. If you South Africa, there's a book called Number One. This guy was a gangster. His name is Mahadin. And Mahadin went in and out of prison, and he was a very feared gangster. He did a lot of crazy things. And the reason why he ended up like that was he was young and his mother gave him away. He never knew who his father was. So he was raised by other people. His mom gave him away. So he grew up with this in his heart that his mother never loved him. And he felt like, if they don't love me, why should I care about myself? So he didn't care what happened to his life. So he became a gangster. He was from Cape Town. And he got in a lot of trouble, ended up in prison, became a gangster for in and out of 27 years. And when he got released, he didn't want to be part. A lot of things happened, and he didn't want to be part of this gangsterism anymore. So, to walk out from a gang, you just don't walk out. And then he said he was ready for whatever was going to happen. But he said to them, you know what? I'm walking out. People feared him, but when he walked out, nothing happened to him. He came out. He said, Vanessa, I went to his house in Cape Town and I spoke to him. He said, you know what, Vanessa? Then I realized, after all those years, I wish I could have learned this earlier in my life. I would have never ended up the way I did. He said, it's so important to find out the truth and stop making assumptions. I went to look for my mom. I found her. I asked her, why did you give me away? And she said to him, I was only 13 years old. I didn't know how to raise a child. I wanted to give you the best. So I gave you to a family that will feed you, take care of you, and educate you. That's the reason why. They both cried, and he said, Vanessa, if I only knew the truth before then, I'd have never end up like this. So love your mothers, forgive them, love them with the love of God. And to mothers out there, I know it's not easy being a mother. There's many single moms. You have to raise your daughter by yourself, like myself as well. And, and be a provider. It's not easy. And if you've been in prison and you've been released, there's a lot of challenges that you face. But when you anchor, if you put your hope, your everything in God, you will never go wrong. It doesn't matter how dark your situation might be. Yes, it can get very dark. It can get so dark that you can't even see your way out. I know what I'm talking about. But there is a way out. And it's only through Jesus Christ that will give you a hope that nobody else can give you in the midst of your darkest, deepest, confused, horrible, terrible situation. He can cause a light to shine, and he will give you hope and a peace and strength to take you through it. Never allow your dark situation to take your life. You can contact me at info@vgse.co.za. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening. I hope you're blessed. David, thank you so much for this opportunity, and we just trust God. I've prayed about this last night, that many people will be touched and that God will speak to many. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. Tune in Monday for our next episode as we take a look at withdrawal. If you'd like to contact me regarding a Q&A session on addiction, speaking engagements, addiction coaching or consulting, or to utilize the From A to D curriculum and podcasts in your location, please go on my website, www.fromatod.org and click on the contact page or leave me a message on Anchor. As always, stay safe and stay strong.